Good morning and
Buenos
welcome to
días
the
y bienvenidos.
Elementary Reopening Student Community Chat.
Bienvenidos a nuestra conversación de la comunidad.
Before we begin,
Antes de que
እንዴት
empecemos,
አደራችሁ? ወደዚህ ስብሰባ ስለመጣ እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ ማለት ፈልጋለሁ ከመጀመራችን በፊት
we just want to say how proud we are of each of you.
Queremos decir que tan orgullosos nos sentimos de cada uno de ustedes.
We know it has been challenging at times,
Nosotros sabemos que ha sido un desafío de tiempo en tiempo.
but your perseverance and commitment to learning each day is awesome.
Pero tu perseverancia y el compromiso es bastante bueno.
For our interpreters, please give your instructions for turning on interpretation.
Thank you all for being here this morning. My name is Dr. Marcia Jackson, and I am the Executive Director of Student Services. I am very excited about serving as your co-moderator. And what that means is I will be helping you to get answers to your questions. And thank you so much for sending in your questions. This morning, our recently appointed school board representatives will be helping to also co-moderate. So let me introduce Lorraine Johnson and Ashley Sanchez Villafara, who are both seniors at T.C. Williams High School. Lorraine, I think you are on mute. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. My name is Lorraine Johnson.
My name is Ashley Sanchez Villafara.
And we are so excited to serve as your moderators for this chat, as we really do care about the educational community of Alexandria and have great interest in our plan for reopening schools.
We will be asking as many questions as possible during the 30-minute period. Also, please feel free to questions in the live Q&A chat. Before we begin, let's hear a few words from our superintendent, Dr. Hutching.
So good morning, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you all to this wonderful chat. It's so great to see so many elementary school students on this chat to hear about our reopening plans. And I hope that we'll be able to answer some of your questions and questions that we don't get to today, you will be able to find on our website. So I'm just looking forward to this interesting discussion and looking forward to hopefully seeing you all, whether it's Zoom or in person soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. Let's get started with our first question.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay, let's get started. Hi, I'm in the 2nd grade and miss my teachers. I do not like being on Zoom, but I'm scared to go back to school. How do I keep learning?
You know, that's a really good question. I think it would be good for Dr. Jackson to follow up on this, but I just think it's so important for one, you all to be safe, right? So we want to keep health and safety at the top priority, but then we also understand that this global pandemic is really a traumatic experience for many of us. You know, all of us are feeling as if we're not seeing our friends. You know, I miss seeing my coworkers, our colleagues, our classrooms. I miss seeing you all. You know, I used to come and visit your classrooms and in your buildings, and there are going to need to be some coping mechanisms for our students. And we also need to make sure we're providing you with some supports just so you have someone to talk to. And Dr. Jackson or Mr. Is Darryl on here?
Mr. Sampson is on.
Sampson is on here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask him to just give us some of the things that our school counselors are working on, our school psychologists and social workers. Mr. Sampson?
Sure. It's a really great question. And I know that there's a lot of concern out there amongst both students and families about returning to school or about not returning to school and staying virtual. I think regardless of what we do in ACPS, our counselors, psychologists, school nurses, school social workers are really focused on working with teachers and administrators to both develop positive cultures, and that's whether that's in a building or whether that's online, and also to provide needed supports, so if students are, a little concerned or are a little anxious about coming to school or are a little nervous about if they can do the online virtual classwork, we are ready to help and ready to problem solve. So any student at any time, if they're worried, should try to find their school counselor, their school psychologist, their school social worker, their school nurse, and we can help problem solve. We can help work with teachers. We can help work with parents. We're here to really try to make this work whatever version of school we're in.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sampson. And what I heard you say is that we are here for our students. So please make sure that you reach out to us and have your parents reach out to us. So let's move on to question number 2. Ashley?
All right. I think this is a question that a lot of students have. So the question 2 reads, is it safe to go to school? What happens if someone gets sick?
That's a very good question. And what I want to say is that we have our school nurses who will be in the schools with us. And as always, sometimes students have like a tummy ache, or maybe they might fall on the playground and have an accident. And when that happens, you go to your school nurse and you might get a Band-Aid or you might get some help. Well, the same thing would happen when we return to school. Our school nurses will be there to help support you. And let's move on to question number 3, Lorraine.
How long are we going to have to do stuff like wear masks and gloves? How will we eat if we go back to school?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, the unfortunate thing is that we don't have a time frame or date of how long, right? That's the uncertainty about the global pandemic that we're all experiencing. In regards to eating, you will have to remove your mask to eat, because we want to make sure that people can actually eat. And it's similar to, I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to, go out to a restaurant since this global pandemic has happened, because now restaurants are opened. And just to give you an idea, if you have not, is they place students or they place people 6 feet apart if you're not a part of the same family or community or household. And you're able to then remove your mask and eat as long as you're 6 feet apart and you're in an open space. And those are some of the same practices that we will need to incorporate into our schools if we reopen with in-person and have opportunities for students to eat in classrooms or in the cafeteria.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. And I just want to say we have made friends with a team of doctors who are giving us great advice about things like wearing masks and washing our hands and staying safe. So we are working with experts to make sure that when our students return to the buildings, they are safe. Let's move on to question number 4, Ashley.
All right, so question number 4 reads, I miss my friends. Can we play together at school for recess and talk to each other?
Well, I know there's several conversations now, and Dr. Mozingo will be able to add on to this, but we're having conversations that if we do have in-person instruction starting in the fall, that we will still have recess. We still need kids to have physical activity, similar to many students today are out on playgrounds. I take my son, who's a student at Louds Crouch, out to the playground. We make sure we bring the mask, because if it's crowded, you got to put the mask on, right? If you're out there alone, you can have a good old time by yourself without your mask. It's just a matter of us making sure that we educate our students and that we provide you all, if you don't already have the necessary face coverings, that we provide that for you so that you're safe and you're being safe or causing a safe environment for others. But Dr. Mozingo, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, I would. And that is a very, very good question. If we go back or if we go virtual, here's what we're thinking about. We have been working with, we have a group of teachers, probably many of your teachers working on these various committees and teams. And what we've talked about is we still want to make sure that you would be involved. You would have access to recess. You may be, we just talked this morning about an idea of something that's called affinity groups. So for example, if we were to go virtual, we could create something with teachers, with students, where you could participate in some activities with other students, whether it might be chess, it may be a way in which we could develop some virtual activities for students to still have fun and to be connected with other students. If we were to go back, we know that, as Dr. Hutchins said, we will still have some way that we would provide you some opportunities for recess, for having fun, and for learning together. And you know what? We are going to be asking for some ideas. So later on, we might in fact also get some ideas for you as to how to make sure that you still have fun while learning. But recess would be is a very important time of the day for you. So I promise you that we're going to prepare and develop some activities, but most importantly, we just had a great conversation about, we really want students to be able to get together and remember this concept that someone told me about, affinity groups. And this is when groups of kids can get together, even online, to be engaged in certain activities. So we're looking forward to getting that developed for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mozingo. Let's move on to question number 5, Lorraine.
A lot of my friends and I ride the bus. Would we still be able to do that when we go back to school?
So absolutely, we will still have students riding buses. However, there are guidelines that we have to adhere to, and these are social distancing and social gathering guidelines that also apply to transportation or buses. Right now, what the guidelines recommend is that we allow 1 student per seat, every other seat. So as you all can imagine, that means your buses won't be as crowded as they typically are. You won't have as many students on the buses as you are typically, used to seeing during your rides to and from school. So we will have to adhere to those guidelines. But yes, there will still be transportation options if we open in person, but it will be limited students on the bus at a particular time, as well as at bus stops at a particular time.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchings. Ashley, would you like to take question number 6?
Yes, this question is for students that have underlying health conditions. So it says, I have asthma. Will I have to do something different than other students?
So that's a great question. And we are, as I said before, we're working with teams of doctors, and we're going to be working very closely with all of our parents to make sure that any student that has any kind of medical conditions that are of concern, that we are going to work with that family and work with that school to make sure that that student is safe and give them what they need. So we are planning right now for all kinds of situations for all of our students, because we know that every student has a different situation. And so what your doctor will work with your parents to make sure whatever your doctor recommends for your asthma, that we work with our school nurse and make sure that we have what we need for you as an individual student. And that goes for all of our students, whatever their specific needs are. We will work with your family and with the school staff to meet those needs. So thank you so much for that question. Now we're going to look at some questions around what will schools look like if we are all virtual in the fall. So I'm going to ask Lorraine to take the question number 7.
If we do have online school, can we have online recess / free time in class so that we can talk to our friends?
I love that question. That is
Me too.
I'm like, oh wow, I wish I could be a student again and have so much fun like this, right? So, as you know, yes, we can have if we do online, you can actually do online recess. You can actually do online dance. You can do online drama. You can do online yoga. Some of that we're already doing, even in our summer program. We have a teacher who works at one of our schools, and she has already created some activities on our television program where you can actually participate in online exercise. So absolutely, if we were to go online, we would make sure that there would be a lot of fun activities, whether it's dance, whether it's drama, whether it's yoga, whatever it is. There are lots of ways that you can still engage in online physical activity. This other question about, I do think that's a very important question about, will there be an opportunity for you to be able to chat and talk with some of your friends? And we are, again, we're thinking about, remember that concept of affinity groups? We can figure out how we can, through your school and your teachers, connect you with other students and maybe study a particular topic or have a time for you, time to just talk. So that's a great idea. And that's something that we'll have teachers and some teams help us design for you. But that recess, absolutely, online, dance, drama, yoga, we can make that happen for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mozingo. Sounds like a lot of fun. Question number 8, I will ask Ashley to share with us.
All right, so question number 8 is, will online school be more like summer school or what we had in the spring?
Actually, it's going to be better than both because, and let me just tell you why. There's a lot of lessons that we've learned, you know, between March and June with the spring, and then also between June, the month of July with our summer learning. There's a lot of lessons that we learned, you know, from that. And we're going to take those lessons to make sure that we're providing you an even better experience in the fall. You know, some things that we heard from May to June was that, you know, some students didn't get a chance to have FaceTime with their teachers, you know, meaning on Zoom or interactions with their other classmates. And we want to make sure that in the fall, you know, with any of our virtual options, that we're having a lot more engagement via Zoom with our students and our staff and more often, right? And that it is something that is required and not optional, because it is so important, as you all have said, and I've been reading some of your, you know, your Q&A on the chat. Some of you, you know, you miss seeing people, you miss that kind of interaction. So we're going to need to make sure that we're providing more of the interaction. We're also going to have to look at the grading and how that worked. You know, in the spring, you know, everybody really got somewhat of a no grade in a sense at the elementary level. We want to make sure that we are just having some discussions around how can we still assess kids and how can we show that our students are making academic progress. So those things are going to change too. You're going to hear a lot more about that really soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. And adults are learners too. And that's what I heard you say. We continue to learn every day. Let's go now to question number 8. I'm sorry, question number 9, Lorraine.
My mom has to go to work and I really need the extra help that I used to get from my after school programs. Will there be a way to go somewhere to learn even if we have to do it by Zoom?
Yes. I think that's a good question. And one lesson that we did learn too from the spring is there are additional academic supports that some of our students will need. And we need to make sure that we're providing you all with those supports, whether it's tutoring services, you know, whether it's a way to provide some students possibly some in-person opportunities, you know, whether it's, as Dr. Mozingo had talked about earlier, with these infinity circles and things of that nature, or infinity groups. I think those are going to be some additional supports that we didn't have in the spring and that we didn't have in the summer. You know, another big difference with this fall is that in the spring, if you all remember, the governor closed everything down in the Commonwealth of Virginia, right? So everything was closed. So no one could really go anywhere at that point except for like doctors and nurses and, you know, custodial workers and grocery store workers. But now this is a very different situation in the fall because everything as of right now is not projected to be closed. So that gives us a little more flexibility than we had from March to June. So I hope that helped. I hope that answered your questions out there, or your question out there.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchings. Lorraine, would you like to take question number 10?
I think it's Ashley's turn now.
I got it. So question one reads, if we do online school, can we still borrow books from school?
You know, I love that one too, because that's one of the questions, and I thank you for asking that. We have been meeting and talking about this same idea, for example. So number one, if we move into a virtual environment, we are working and trying to determine if there's some of the books that you currently have had access to, if you could have access to those online. So we are working with what we call publishers, and they're trying to identify ways in which we could still, they're called ebooks, right? So we still want to be able to provide you access to the ebooks. We haven't defined this process just yet, but some of you might have been aware at one point during the year, our parents were able to come by our schools and pick up some of your materials. You probably remember that you were able to get access to some of your materials. We do know though, if we move to an online environment, we would have to identify how you could get access to some essential materials. So we are thank you for asking that question. We are in the process of identifying what those materials would be if we had to develop a safe process though, for you to be able to retrieve some of your materials. But please know we're also working with our publishers, particularly at the elementary level with the new literacy program that we introduced. We're working with that publisher to see how much of those materials could be in the form of ebooks. But we will either way have a process to make sure that you could get access to those materials, because it's important for you to continue your learning and having fun.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mozingo, for that answer. We are just about out of time, and this has been a wonderful opportunity for us to hear from our elementary school students. Thank you for being on our chat today. What a great way to answer questions about reopening our schools for the upcoming school year. Dr. Hutchings, would you like to say anything else?
I just want to say that I am so proud of each and every one of you. And I know that this is a very, very scary time for many of us all. So not just you, but some of our adults, we're a little nervous about this too. But what I can tell you is that all of us together is so much better than being alone. And I can, promise you that you have staff members and you have teachers and you have principals and you have a superintendent who genuinely care about your well-being. And we're going to make the best decisions possible to ensure that you're healthy and that you're safe and that you're also learning, because that is key, to us. But it's great to hear your voices. We're going to take all of this information that you all shared with us to help us with our decision making. And you're going to hear a lot more information Friday and also next week. So I really ask you all, as citizens of Alexandria, to make sure you tune into our school board meeting next Friday, if you can, at noon, because you'll be able to hear a full presentation about the comprehensive plan for reopening our schools this fall. So thank you to all the panelists as well. And I hope to see all of you young people really soon. It's great to see some of you as I'm running out in the neighborhood or at the store. I bump into people all the time. It's so good to see you out there in the community, but make sure that you're wearing your face coverings and that you're practicing your social distancing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchings. And I just want to remind you, if you submitted a question that was not answered today, please know that we will be putting additional answers on our Alexandria City Schools website in our FAQ, or frequently asked questions section. Check it out. With that, I would like to thank my co-moderators, Lorraine and Ashley, our esteemed group of panelists and Superintendent Dr. Hutchings for your ear and for your time today. A big thank you to our students who participated either by submitting questions or tuning in today into today's conversation. Also would like to thank our interpreters who helped us out to make sure that every voice was heard and every person was able to participate in today's meeting. And with that, we are going to transition to our middle school chat. And elementary students, you are more than welcome to stay on if you would like to. We know that some of you are in classes, so we want to make sure you get back to your classes, and want to thank our teachers also who allowed their students, took some time to allow their students to participate in the chat today. And we appreciate you very much. And we are going to transition to our middle school chat in just a few moments. Thank you so much, elementary students, and enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful and safe summer.